This presentation covers the guidelines you must follow as a Thomson employee in order to work safely on and around equipment that has been securely de-energized and isolated from its power source. If you've ever worked in any industrial setting, you've surely heard the term lockout, tagout. Lockout, tagout procedures provide construction and industry operators and service personnel with a safe means of servicing and performing work on machinery and equipment under safe, de-energized conditions. The power sources of the equipment to be serviced are isolated, locked in the de-energized position, and tagged. All employees involved in the process must place his or her own lock and tag with his or her name and relevant company information on the lockout device before beginning work. There are many different types of lockout devices that are acceptable. They include standard locks, blocks, chains, multi-lock hasps, wheel valve covers, ball valve covers, satellite boxes, and others. Each and every type of lockout, tagout device that is used must be durable. There are no requirements for the specific type of device as long as it can be securely locked. It is a good idea to have a variety of devices available to fit all situations. However, all Thomson employees on one project must use the same type of locks and tags. Remember, there must always be a tag for each lock and a lock for each employee. Lockout, tagout devices must be able to withstand the environment in which they are used. They should also be standardized according to color, size, and shape, and should be substantial enough so that they cannot be accidentally removed. To be identifiable, they should have a legend that states phrases such as "do not operate," "do not start," "do not energize," etc. Basically, any equipment with potentially hazardous energy is subject to lockout, tagout. Lockout, tagout does not apply only to electricity but to all forms of energy. Other forms of energy include hydraulic energy, air, pressurized gas, and others. Some examples of the equipment on which lockout, tagout procedures are used include kilns, conveyors, pumps, ovens, and boilers. When in doubt, check it out. Don't take any equipment for granted. So, we've talked a little about where lockout, tagout procedures are used, but we're also concerned with when the procedures must be used. Lockout, tagout procedures should be followed when servicing or providing maintenance on equipment where hazardous energy exists or unexpected startup could occur. Either of these could harm an employee and damage equipment. Keep in mind that every employee working on a system must be locked out. Here are some further examples of when lockout, tagout procedures must be in place. When employees are required to remove or bypass a safety device. When employees are required to place any part of their body in harm's way, such as when working on a conveyor or machinery with moving parts and/or pinch points. And when employees are exposed to hazardous energy, such as installing a valve on existing piping systems or performing line breaks on a system or process. Never start work without the proper site-specific training, you understand the hazards, and have signed off on the permit. One very common lockout, tagout practice in industrial construction and maintenance is the group lockout, tagout, which allows 2 or more employees to lock out a single energy source, usually with a multi-lock device. All employees who participate in this work must lock out with his or her own lock and tag. The system that is locked out is considered completely locked out of service until everyone involved in the lockout has removed his or her locks and tags. Group lockout, tagout is usually performed under the supervision of a single lockout, tagout supervisor. There are a few exceptions to OSHA's lockout, tagout standard. Situations in which lockout, tagout is not required include work where hazardous energy does not exist. It is not required in activities performed during routine production processes. Finally, lockout, tagout is not required for work on cord-controlled devices. Devices that, when unplugged, are completely isolated from the energy source or equipment. OSHA categorizes workers in lockout, tagout situations in 2 specific ways. First, there's the affected employee. The affected employee is the worker who operates, works around, or occasionally adjusts equipment that is subject to lockout, tagout. The second category is authorized employees. Authorized employees are those who are at risk while the equipment is being repaired or adjusted. Authorized employees maintain equipment and service equipment. It is very important that authorized employees have extensive training in lockout tagout procedures. In addition to categorizing employees, OSHA also determines company responsibilities in lockout tagout work. According to OSHA, the company is to ensure de-energizing of the equipment, to ensure employee awareness. This can be done through the proper use of the JSHA. The company must provide the appropriate levels of training, review program effectiveness, maintain and revise the program, and administer appropriate disciplinary actions. Maintenance workers are also affected by the lockout tagout standard and have their own list of responsibilities. Maintenance employees must perform lockout tagout prior to any service or repair. They may be required to remove guards or isolation devices. Also, they must ensure the proper training of maintenance authorized employees. Let's discuss the responsibilities of the affected employees during lockout tagout. The affected employee must notify maintenance, etc., when equipment needs repair or adjustment. They must leave all lockout tagout devices in place while work is being performed. They must verify that equipment is safe to operate following lockout tagout, and finally, they must follow all safety rules while operating the equipment. Likewise, the authorized employee has his own responsibilities. He is responsible for repairing or servicing the equipment as needed, ensuring that all energy sources are locked out, testing the equipment to verify the residual energy is dissipated. This is also just called trying out the equipment. The authorized employee is responsible for placing a Danger, Do Not Operate tag on any equipment that is locked out. Never hesitate to ask for assistance when repairing a piece of equipment. Extra eyes and ears are always an important safety aid. Authorized employees should always remove locks and tags, at the same time communicating to affected employees that the repair is complete and the equipment is safe to operate. If work needs to continue into the next shift, the authorized employee from the first repair shift should not remove their locks and tags before employees from the shift coming on duty place their own locks and tags on the equipment. Only people working on a particular piece of equipment should have locks on the subject equipment. Remember that failure to lock out equipment is a leading cause of injuries and fatalities in industry. Employees must really stay on their toes and avoid shortcuts that could cost them their lives. Ignorance of lockout tagout procedures cannot be tolerated under any circumstances. Simply put, the program must be in place, the training must be conducted, and evaluations for effectiveness must follow.